Sure can. Did anyone hear?
I did not. I talked to him last week.
I think he was planning on it, but I didn't talk to him today.
Thank you. If everyone would stand for the pledge and go slowly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It seems like maybe we should do introductions. You know, it's been a little while since we
felt like it.
Hi, Tyler.
Hello.
Melissa, would you please do the roll call then?
Mr. Rumbaugh?
Here.
Mr. Basic?
Here.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Here.
Mrs. Gill?
Here.
Mrs. Clyde?
Here.
Mrs. Sherry?
Here.
Trying to get the time to do this.
Thank you. We have a lot of approval of items this evening. First of all is the March 11th, 2024 minutes on pages 1 through 5.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from March 11th.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Rumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherry?
Yes.
Mr. Basic?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde? Yes.
And the February bank reconciliation on pages 6 through 9.
I'll make a motion to approve the February bank reconciliation.
Second. Any discussion, questions? Please call the roll.
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Basic?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherry?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
Sorry.
Approval of the February vouchers. I'll make a motion to approve the February vouchers.
Second.
Questions, discussions? Please call the roll.
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherry?
Yes.
Mr. Basic?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes. And then on pages 13, 14, and 15, we have the February gas and ERUs.
I'll make a motion to approve the February gas and ERUs.
Second. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Basic?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherry?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
And on pages 16 through 19, we have the March bank reconciliation.
I'll make a motion to approve the March bank reconciliation.
Second.
Any questions, discussions? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
I caught that.
Mrs. Sherry?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde? Yes. Bad timing on the train.
And on pages 20 through 22, we have the March vouchers.
Make a motion to approve March vouchers.
Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherry?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mr. Basic?
Yes.
And on pages 23 through 25, we have the March gas and ERUs.
I'll make a motion to approve the match gas, March gas and ERUs.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Okay, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherry?
Yes.
Mr. Basic?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. A lot of paper. No one has signed up to speak this evening. Mike, you have your EMP.
Yes. All right. Jeremy presented the rent summary report to the board. Stated that there were 25 rents in the month of February, and in March they already had 26 rents. And he stated that there had been an increase of very ill patients recently, and stated the new medic is in training and is doing well. Reported the medic, Vandana, is still recovering from his foot injury. And that was for March 19th.
Almost a run every day in February.
From March 19th.
And then do you have the fire, Mike?
Yes, yep. Sam was present for that, the chief, and reported 7 runs for the month of February. Also had noted they would like to host an open house celebration for the fire department this year for the 140th year of service. And then also on April 28th, they're having a plan for a chicken barbecue. Please pass that around to get people involved.
We do have tickets up front here for as well as the gun raffle.
Good. All right.
Thank
That
you.
was
Any
from
questions? for
March
Mike?
19th.
What was the chicken barbecue date again?
Which one?
28th.
The chicken barbecue's 20.
Thank you.
And I think it's pre-sale only, is that correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Can they pick up at the fire station or pick up at the park?
At the fire station.
Fire station.
from what I understand, yes.
Haley, Parks and Recs on March 20th.
So we had discussed the bridge work, by the second diamond that they use for disc golf. It looks like Greg is in contact with Grove Construction for that. We also discussed the parking by the back diamonds, and considered a park district grant, or it's like something we pay back, I don't remember the details, but for 4 years. And that was something that we would do, it would just be for parking though. And then still the same, moving the tennis courts, and basketball court, and pickleball, to be included on the tennis court if possible. There was the softball storage shed that was mentioned, and then, that was pretty much it. Except for pickleball, painting the court.
Any questions for Haley?
No,
We'll need them. Pardon?
I'll make the motion to approve the park and rec meeting minutes.
Any further discussion or questions? Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Fazy?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherrick?
Yes.
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
And then Tyler, you had planning and zoning on March 20th.
Yes, we had no visitors that night. Received an application to rezone a property in town, and letters have since been sent out to notify people in 14 days. There was a resident interested in potential apartments down by Northside. The current property doesn't support that multifamily. That's what it would constitute. So I think a letter is being sent to them as well as informing them of the official process they'd have to go through if they were interested. And
Make a motion to approve planning and zoning minutes for March 20th, 2024.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
yes.
Mr. Fazy?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes. And Jamie, cemetery?
We had a meeting on March 19th, this is the 26th, just about that. It was all pretty standard business, and we discussed a little more about the transition from the former sexton to the new one, and the purchase of the former sexton's equipment for the new one.
Okay. Thank you. I'm gonna ask Rob to share anything, when we moved our meeting. Rob is to be in Arlington tonight for their meeting as well, so he's splitting his time. So he'll be leaving here a little bit, so if you want to share.
Yeah, it looks like Greg might cover it as well, but we've discovered some different code sections and things that may conflict, and you gotta go to more than one source to see what's going on in regards to junk cars or grass ordinances versus what else there is for the village, so it's probably time, a little easier project may have got a little bit more difficult, but if we can eliminate that and have one book to go to for questions that any citizen may ask, if they're asking about setbacks or driveways, or if we're enforcing grass or junk cars. Those two ordinances need modernized a little bit for ease of enforcement and everything else. So we just kind of got our answer here tonight of what needs to be done, and I'm going to start doing that. The tax ordinances that you see tonight, obviously we needed to adapt that 196 for enforcement, but the other two were also in the agreement that we were required to have those, just as a matter of who's got the authority to do what and giving Finley that authority. So that's what those are. I showed all those to Mary Price ahead of time just because when it involves taxes, I don't like to do anything about it. So I had her approve those ahead of time as to form. So we get those approved. I would like to have a copy of those, unless you want to send them to Mary. Either way, she needs to have them.
I'll just send them
Okay.
in an email.
To both.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, you send
so
both.
she needs, I'm sure she'll want to have them in the Macomb file that she's created. Most of what I do is not here at the meetings, so, I guess the good news is there's nothing too crazy going on. I was asking the mayor when I showed up earlier tonight that there's nothing new that I don't know about, so, right now we're on cruise control. So, as far as anything, I've got my hands in.
Any questions for Rob? Okay. Any old business? New business? You go to Arlington, we're done. This will be a record. 104-page agenda. Tyler, did you have anything for this evening?
I'll have a planning and zoning meeting on Wednesday. At 6:30.
Thank you. Sarah?
I don't remember what I had, so no, I don't.
Okay. Zach?
Yeah, I would like to, have a finance meeting on Wednesday. What time is it usually? 5:30? 5:30, yeah, okay. Also, we also did have a police and safety committee meeting, last Thursday, April 11th. Want to go over those?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yep, that's all right. Yeah, we had a meeting, April 11th at 5:30. Myself, Jamie, and Tyler were here, also along with Chief Kenny Monk and Mayor Kathy Schroll. There were no visitors. Also, we just basically discussed the renewal of the Hancock County Sheriff's contract that will be coming up on June 1st, 2024. She was just wondering if it would be feasible to renew the contract or maybe use the allocations to hire a second police officer. We decided to set up a meeting on Monday, May 6th, 2024 at 5:30 in council chambers and invite a representative from the Hancock County Sheriff's Office to go over the new contract. So if anybody would like to come up during that time. And then whatever the committee will decide, we will bring the council on Monday, May 15th, since the contract is due on June 1st. We also, that's about it, but I would also like to call for executive session to, I'm going to do an agenda preparing for conducting or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with employees.
I'll second.
And who all would you like in there?
Everybody.
Okay.
Except for the steering committee.
Except for the steering committee, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Council members.
Council members, yeah.
Is there a motion then to approve those minutes?
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the police safety committee meeting minutes from April 11th.
Second.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mr. Fazy?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, Beth? You want
Um,
to report on your,
Yeah,
This
with our
is
garage
coming
sale.
weekend?
I do have 37 participants. I have 2 food trucks, and then the student government committee will be doing a plant sale, and that's how I listed it, under plant sale and then the food trucks. I just also, the food truck, she just called me Saturday, so I just wanna make sure it's okay with everybody, that she, you know, she's doing it on her own property, so if it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
actually, I think it's going to be on Woodford and Grant property.
Yeah.
From what the conversation I listened to.
I don't know where she's gonna end up, but I would like to help her out. It's gonna be, Scotty Subs, thank you, yeah, Scotty Subs, yeah, that's gonna be here. So she had called me she left an email with me on Saturday evening, and then I called her on Sunday, so I said,
I-
absolutely. So,
Spoke with Beth a little bit. I wonder if we ought to see if she would like to set up down in our lot by the fire station because of the parking and all of that.
so maybe
Traffic.
reach out to her?
I think she's bringing it over Thursday is her plan, that I
Okay.
heard. So to me,
Okay.
yeah, it takes.
Okay,
But
okay.
I mean, I don't care where she sets, but I just think
Okay.
traffic-wise, going in and out and.
Okay. I'm gonna tell her it's okay, and if she wants to go down to the park, I was trying to
That's
get her
fine
to
at
go to
the
the park
park.
as well, it's the more the merrier, I think, and the traffic, and she'll get a lot of traffic that way. So
She
maybe
may
I'll-
end up with more than just
At the
garage
school.
sale people.
Yeah, exactly.
Do we need to waive any fees for the vendor?
Yeah, if we could waive the fee, I guess I'll
Didn't-
ask for that.
I think, did we already?
Was it
I thought we got rid of it.
I don't think we're charging a fee anymore.
Yeah, we got rid of that earlier.
Okay, okay, perfect, okay, thank you.
No, how exciting. I don't know, probably every other house in town's having a garage sale. I'm not. I've still got a lot of junk, but thank you
Not
for all
willing
that.
to part with it yet.
Pardon? Yeah.
Part with it.
Not that Swedish cleaning quite yet. But thank you. It's been
Yeah.
people are talking about it, so.
Yeah, but I'm going to get a hold, I told Haley I would have everything for her on Wednesday, so I am going to I want her to put it up on the website. I'll put it on my social media, I'll put it on the community forum, so if anybody else can share it, that'd be wonderful, so.
Are you gonna have printed copies?
I will have printed copies, but they always go.
Okay, yeah,
so
I just,
don't-
yeah.
I'm gonna have some here, I always take one down, just because I do run out, and if
Yeah.
you can
Take pictures
screenshot,
of it.
yeah, take a picture of it,
Right.
yeah, usually.
Do you take them to the library?
Yes, I am taking some more. They will have a sale as well.
Okay, Mike, do you have anything?
The only thing I have is, just under the radar here is, so I'm working on the pole layouts for the additional poles, and then also getting the banners straightened out, laid out, all the way from the west to east and north to south. And then that way I can get that stuff to Haley and then also Greg and those guys. So that we have that stuff in order before, next month here.
When do they go out?
I think we told him we wanted them up by the 8th.
May 8th, okay. He said he would ask, so, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Haley?
No, the only thing I have is the Parks and Rec meeting for May 20th at 6. I had my first official concession for softball yesterday, and it went really well. People really liked it. There was a couple asking me how it happened, and I really don't know that part of it. But one was 2 grants from what I know, but yeah, so.
It was the park grant, Hancock County, Hancock Park District, not Hancock County, Hancock Park District.
Did we have a sign up back there or not?
No, they have not given signs, but we did discuss that when the gentleman came to inspect everything. We thought that, that would be a nice thing to.
Right, yeah.
We have to do it for the, Nature Works.
Yeah.
They make it.
Right.
So I don't know if the Park District would consider that or not. Thank you, Haley. Jamie?
I don't have anything.
Student committee report?
We had
So for the Park Picnic Day, it's May 25th from 1 to 3. We will have food trucks. We'll have O. Henry's, which is barbecue, Kona Ice, and Hinojosa, which is Mexican food. We're going to have 2 inflatables. One is a obstacle course, a 75-foot obstacle course, and then a 20-foot 2-lane slide. That'll cost us $850. We are going to have face painting done by our art club, and a 50-50. We'll have carnival games, as in, I think we're planning on doing darts, like up against something, and then cornhole. And our advertisement is finished. I'm waiting on it to get back to me so I can give it to Haley, and we can print copies out. And then we're selling plants for the community garage sale, and we're working on getting our recruiting stuff around.
And I will be picking up your plants on Friday morning, it's opening day down there. And I'll have the trailer up here. Haley will take care of that on Friday for you guys.
Okay.
Do you know who's coming Saturday yet?
We're working on it.
Okay, perfect.
I was able to attend the student meeting this last one, and I just reiterated that going forward, we'd like to move the recruitment for this time frame going forward and not waiting until the beginning of the school year, so that we can just kind of make note of that and make sure it's in their minds.
What kind of change we need for Saturday for the plant sale?
That's a Kathy question. She's the one who told me how much we were selling them for.
Unless you heard yet.
All the ferns and the big geraniums are gonna be $25, so my guess would be people pay with 20s. So at least need some 10s, 5s.
Yeah.
What about the veggies?
I don't know how much the veggies are gonna be, but I'm guessing they'll probably be a couple bucks a tray. Because we said we would pick some veggies up since Ed's gone.
Yeah.
There might be
I'll
a
get
few.
some ones in,
Okay.
just in case.
I have a question. Do they get community service hours for doing the student?
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus, as their awards recognition, do you have that date yet? Not your senior
Senior
not
rec-
senior recognition.
The awards
It's the
recognition.
award.
The 15th.
The fun one.
The 15th.
May 15th? Because I have those certificates
Okay.
for everyone. Any other questions for the student committee?
Where's that located at? Is it at school?
Yeah, it's at the school during the day. I can't tell you what time right now because they're changing a bunch of, okay, well, let me back up. It should be the 15th, but Millstream has something on the 15th. So I did hear talk about them maybe moving, that's a Wednesday, maybe moving
Okay.
it to Monday.
Okay.
I'll let you know when I know, which is when I know.
They'll let you know the day before, maybe, if you're lucky.
I'll let you know when, but I don't quite know right now. And Jamie, you talked about reiterating when you want us to recruit, and you can do that, but depending on who president is, you might have to reiterate every year.
I agree.
So.
Okay, thank you. Under legislative, we have several this evening, so I'll let you take it away.
This is the first reading of ordinance O 2024-05, an ordinance enacting chapter 196 entitled chapter 196 filing net profit taxes and declaring an emergency.
I'll make a motion to suspend rules for ordinance 2024-05.
Second.
Any discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherrick?
Yes.
Mr. Fazy?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
This is, I have to do them separately, don't I? Yeah, all right. Second and third reading of ordinance 2024-05.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2024-05.
Second. Just call the roll.
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Fazy?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
First reading of ordinance O 2024-06, an ordinance declaring that the city of Findlay is authorized to administer, enforce, and collect income tax money for the village of Macomb and declaring an emergency. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Paisy?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill? Mrs. Sherrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
Second and third reading of ordinance O 2024-06.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance O 2024-06.
Second.
Any discussion? Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherrick?
Yes.
Mr. Paisy?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill? First reading of ordinance O 2024-07, an ordinance authorizing the income tax administrator for the city of Findlay to act as the income tax administrator for the village of Macomb and declaring an emergency.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules for ordinance O 2024-07.
Second that.
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherrick?
Yes.
Mr. Paisy?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Second and third reading of ordinance O 2024-07.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance O 2024-07.
Any further discussion? Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Paisy?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mel has a lot of pages in here. Pages 59 to 102.
Finally got caught up.
You have anything specifically you'd like to address, go over?
No, I'm still trying to get 2023 balanced on the income tax side. Get all that done.
It'll be nice going forward.
Yes, it will.
Greg, you have your report.
I did sign a contract with Ziegler Painting to stain and seal shelter house number 2. Didn't give me a date when he's gonna do that, but we're on the books. We did receive the pool licenses for the 2024 season. I give them to Mel, she sent the check in. I think we got everything back. I don't know if you students can pass it along, but we currently only have 3 lifeguard applications and no applications for a pool manager. I did speak with Randy. He's having issues with his availability. He's trying. He asked if $20 an hour is out of the question for him to be that, because he gets behind the 8 ball when he takes the manager position. I am all right with giving him that because I have no issues with him down there when he's running the pool. I'm not down there every day like I was before. So I would just ask your blessing if that can happen, and that would just be for Randy, since this would be his 3rd year. If that is okay if I say that we can do that, the hourly rate.
Is that a guarantee to lock it in there?
He's still dealing with BSAFE. He puts in time for unavailability and it all got rejected. So he's asking his chief.
I'll make a motion to approve him for $21 an hour, provided he is available, and that is specific for Randy. So that'll give you an extra $1.
Is there a second on the motion?
Where were we at before?
18. but-
18.
Okay.
$2 is a big increase.
I'll second that. You can get full manager.
21.
21, that's right. No, motion for it.
You know what headaches you get.
Yeah, I'll second the 21.
I even had a parent tell me today that they didn't enjoy dropping, or didn't feel safe dropping their child off there a couple of years ago. Any further discussion on that? Then would you please call the roll now?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Paisy?
No.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd really like to see Randy if he can make it work. Take it
If
to
it
happy.
works out.
Plus, he
If it's not-
recruits the kids down there too.
Yep,
If it's not Randy, it'll be the 18 then?
yep.
Pardon me?
If it's not Randy, it'll be
Yeah,
the 18.
that was just.
Oh, yeah, just for him, okay.
Yeah.
All right, Kathy and I met with Northwest Water Sewer District about the, if I would have spelled it right in my report, but the dam at the park. We kind of verbally agreed that they were going to remove the concrete that they stuck in. The gate, we asked that they leave the catwalk and the fence around the catwalk. So, if that need be, we have access across there, and it keeps the kids from going across, we leave the fence there. They have no issue with showing us how to run the pump house, because that will go back to us also. But they did say if we ever needed help, or, you know, they'll come down and when we want to run the pump, they will do that for us. And obviously, we want to do that at least once a month, just to get the pumps running. We can't just let them not run. It's not good on them.
How's that currently done?
It's all, I was told there's a O, an H, and an A. Hand, automatic, and off. So hopefully we can figure that out, but there's a bunch of other stuff down there. I didn't go in there yet, but
Are they taking anything out of there?
they decided not to.
Okay.
They was going to, then they decided not to.
Okay.
They're all they're gonna put riprap from the bridge back to the dam along the ditch bank to dress that up.
Okay.
Number 7, I'm having Ward give the village some estimates to redo, because I talked to them about some other things, but they have done tennis and pickleball courts before,
Okay.
and basketball courts. So they're supposed to get in contact with me this week, so I'm gonna get some estimates from them, so we kinda know where we're at with that. I'd like to thank Grubb Construction, hopefully they all right with me saying that, but we purchased some beams from them at a very reasonable price for the bridge. We've already got the wood attached to those beams, thanks to Craig Fenstermaker. He took time out of his busy schedule to prepare the beams. He did some welding on them and drilled the holes. So whenever the creek goes down, we will attempt to redo the bridge. And hopefully, during our lifetime, it won't have to, at least the beams will not gonna be redone.
This is probably a long stretch, but is it possible it'll be done before Sunday?
Probably not.
They have a big disc golf tournament coming here, so I was just curious.
Yep, that is not gonna happen, so we will probably ought to close that bridge off or something, because it is about ready to.
It's bad.
It's bad.
Maybe just knock it down.
Might have to.
Because they put tape across it, caution tape, and they just continued to use it.
We have about, it's 17 or 18, I can't remember, 18 new military banners. I did reach out to AEP. I had the guys go down South Street and back to the school for poll numbers. I emailed that in to Stacy Algar, and I have not heard back, but hopefully I will in the next
Yeah,
few
usually
days.
that's not a problem.
Planning and zoning, we're working with the solicitor. He kind of mentioned it before about changing the language of our junk vehicle. I'm more concerned about the junk vehicle than the grass, but hopefully we can get the language switched around, the rules a little bit stiffer, and people will end up dealing with the courts instead of not paying attention to a letter with us. They'll have to deal with the courts, and if they say move your car and they don't, well then somebody's gonna come take it. how I understand it. And we won't have anything involved with it, it'll be between them and the courts. And, number 11, Tammy talked to me today. We had a issue, kind of been an ongoing issue, with cars stopping in front of the factory on Raider Road to pick up, workers that are coming out. Well, they blocked the road, and obviously you have to go out around them, and now there's some of the workers that are walking out. If you're going around the cars that are parked there, they're hitting the top of the cars as they go by.
That's what that meant,
Yeah.
I
Sorry.
thought somebody was physically struck.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I was in a hurry today, but,
They will be.
Is it on the side where the parking lot is, or on the hard side?
I think it's kind of wherever.
I always see them more on the parking lot side, lined up with cars.
Yes, and in the mornings for first shift, they're actually stopping there and dropping people off. So people that are trying to get through to go to work, they're sitting there anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes just trying to get through. If they do try to go around, employees are smacking the top of their cars. One lady said she was so scared that she had a panic attack in her car because this big guy just pounded on the top of her car, and she had to take it in to see if she can have it popped out.
Because he thought he was too close to her or something, or?
Evidently.
Just who knows.
I've talked to Parkside about this in the past, and I did make a phone call today and told them that this has now become a major issue. And, because I tell them to move along, and I just told them they need to remember they don't own that road. And some of the stuff out there are not to code, the stop signs are not to code, I've let it go.
They installed those?
They did. And, they've cut out part of their curbside for their buses to make a bus lane there. Well, that's actually in the right of way of the road,
They still got plenty of parking lot down there for them to pull.
Exactly. And so he mentioned today that they were looking at possibly, where their break room is down on the north side. So they've been having the buses pull in there, so they were thinking about putting a sidewalk from there all the way down the building. And I go, that's not gonna work. I go, you look at the space that you guys have, you're gonna end up in the right of way of the road. I said, again, you don't own that road. So that's not gonna work.
And they should just build like a ramp up and over the road.
There you go.
I was just
a metal one.
I was just thinking of that. I mentioned that.
Tall enough for semis to get under.
But I'm gonna call Matt Cadonier and just kind of ask him, if he's dealt with this and what solutions that we can come up with to work with Harside, so we can find an answer to this.
Is there any signage that's gonna be put up? Just
I think there's no parking signs there now.
Are they allowed to do it like at that one point? Because they stopped like shortly after my house, right at that alleyway, and let off a bunch of workers off the bus. Are they allowed to be doing that?
I'm not supposed to do it at all.
My dog starts going crazy, so.
Is that for the
Like the alley right behind
RV
me.
one?
Yeah, they walk down the alley to get to the front of that building.
Anything else for Greg, questions?
That's all I have.
Okay, Chief Funk.
I had 87 calls for service and 3 instances. The Eclipse Day went really well. Our park was quite full with a lot of outside people. Everybody was very friendly and nice and no issues at all. They commented, had lots of comments on our park, and for such a little town, how nice our park was.
And I think you shared that a lot of them found the cone based on the disc golf, right?
Yep, they
That was-
said when they researched the disc golf, ours kept popping up as one of the nicest places that we had, and
I noticed a lot of Michigan plates.
it was. And they said that they found a lot of back ways to get here, so they never had to get on the interstate. We even had a guy from New Zealand here, so. That's interesting.
Well, I was thankful we didn't have all the issues that we could have had, so that was good. Okay, I have a report that I handed out to each of you. I'm skipping number 1, Greg and I already discussed that. Mrs. Morrison's 3rd grade class, they came down here. We've kind of been going back and forth. I visited the entire 3rd grade. They have been working on opinion letters, so they shared 2 of them. By Colton Beach, said we need more and bigger fish in the reservoir. My first reason is I've been there about 25 times and I've either caught nothing or small fish, so I haven't been going there. Then my mom has to spend money on gas. Where I started going is 2 hours and 20 minutes drive. Instead of driving out of the village, I think I should be able to use Macomb's resources, but I can't because there are no fish in the reservoir. And he goes on and on. His solution is to put bigger fish. I did pull the data that we had from ODNR with the number of finger saugeye that we put in, which is 4,500 and some. I left the kids guess, 29 fish or whatever, no. So they were pretty impressed, but I thought I might check and see what the possibility of getting any larger fish might be. I don't know if that's even a...
So which reservoir are you talking about? So
I think he's talking...
There's some big fish in the reservoir.
There's too many in the big one or the little one?
In the small one, there are some big fish.
Okay.
Some very big fish.
Well, I'll let Colton know he needs to fish the little one.
There's an avid fisherman that comes to Macomb and fishes, and he's got pictures of some 5 and 6 pound bass that he's caught in this.
He was caught during the Cookie Fest too.
Yeah, and he actually caught a 16-inch, 2-pound crappie.
I was going to say, do they still have a lot of crappie out here?
And there's a huge goldfish in there too.
That's
still alive.
Now, wait a minute, we should have that for the cookie, the golden prize.
Right. It's in there.
Catch and release something.
Catch and release.
While we're on that, I've been asked by the Hearthside representative, they wanna use the pool for a day in the front of the park, bring inflatables, and they asked me about a fishing derby. They can just have the fishing derby, can't they? I mean, there's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Do
there's
they
nothing,
have to have a
we have rules that say they
license?
can't have a fishing derby.
No, I mean, no.
If you call it a derby?
Right, yeah. Yeah, you don't have to go in that
Okay.
case. And then, I mean, they get sponsors and stuff. If they get sponsors, they'll donate things, right? Some of them will go to Bass Pro Shop and those different places, and they'll explain that. And that's how, what's the guy's name over in North Baltimore that always comes up for the fishing derby here.
Oh, with the
Burwell, yeah. So he always he gets sponsored from them, right? And that's why they get all those fishing poles and everything else that they don't, give out, hand out. Yeah, there's,
So I can tell them that's a.
yeah, I don't see any issue with that.
Should get a hold of this Colton and tell him he better be out there that day. Hope somebody works as a cookie. And then, the other one that I read was Jolynn Downing, the whole town cleanup. I think that there should be a whole town cleanup. I know that being a mayor, there's a lot to do, but you don't have to do it. We will pitch in to help. So just sit back and relax and just listen to my 3 reasons. And then she goes on and gives the reasons for trash cleanup. I did share with this group, they are 3rd graders, but I have scheduled, I think, 141 4th, 5th, and 6th graders for a community service day on May 24th. And I did receive back from Mrs. Miles today, and it looks like maybe they might include some 3rd graders because what they had planned may have dropped through, so she may get her wish and clean the town up. So 3 applications for United Way days of hearing are all in. They're listed there. We do have a couple backup plans for inclement weather. If Haley and her mom haven't painted the inside of the concession stand, the paint setting there, and they'll be happy to do that. Greg said there's some additional dugouts at the back there that could be done, but I called Mike about this. We do plan to have them paint a pickleball on the old existing tennis court, and Mike said he or someone is going to have it laid out. So I'm good with that, as long as I didn't have to lay it out. Might have been an interesting court.
We'll probably have to get a couple signs to put on the fencing or something, just to explain to people.
Pickleball?
Yeah, the pickleball. The biggest thing is just the yellow lines are gonna be for the pickleball, the other lines are basic tennis. And, the only thing there is, it has just a strap in the middle they gotta pull down just to bring the net height down for the pickleball, and it puts it where it needs to be, so.
Number 4 was a shock to me. Angela had told me that their Noon Rotary was thinking of maybe painting or helping to spread mulch, but they actually are giving us $5,000 to the Little Panthers Learning Center, and I'll be attending their meeting on Wednesday, and they will be, guess I must have got mixed up in the middle of that one, came to be Jen W. I will have the check on Wednesday. I'm excited. The Macomb Lions Club turned 75. Tomorrow evening, I will be presenting them a proclamation. Even though they turn in April, I would like to recognize them at our May meeting. And it's my understanding that I think Rotary turns 95 this year, so maybe we could do something along the same thing. Wednesday will be the walkthrough for anyone in the 3 buildings downtown for the revitalization grant. If you remember, there was an issue with the HAVAC for Mr. Seifert because it had to be signed off by Wood County. So we're starting over, and this one will be all of the buildings and inside and outside. The 19th, Friday, I'll pick up the stuff for the youth group. I did submit that for the Community Foundation for $1.2 million. It's interesting when you know who's in the realm of things. I do not think that we will be getting that money, but I did submit it from what I've been told. However, if you read number 10, Jen Williams had contacted me and thought she might have about $35,000 that we could renovate our courts. And then she contacted me again and she said, I think we could do that for $35,000, and I said probably not. Her husband's in construction and they're building 6 really nice pickleball courts that are over $1 million south of Columbus. I said, well, that won't be what we need up here. So then she said, well, how about 50? I said, well, I think we could do it for 50. Well, then she said, well, it looks like there could be around $100,000 left over from that big pot of funding. So what can you do for $100,000? So in discussion about that, she said, how about 50 for revamping your current tennis court, making it tennis pickleball, so we would be tearing out that base that's in there, redoing the base and putting a new thing and having it painted out. The date for what I'm thinking is we may know by May 6th if that's going to happen. So I can't turn this money down.
Are we still looking at keeping it in the same area? Or?
Yeah, we don't have an extra funding to move it all back. And the reason for a lot of that is that fence is there. It's the tall fence.
Right.
To move that or to purchase new, that puts it way over.
Gotcha.
So by the time we ever get our $1.5 million road through there, we'll be ready for new ones by then.
Sure.
The other thing I.
This is grant money?
Mhm. Actually, it's bond money, which is part of the money coming from Senator McCauley and Senator Cross, or Representative Cross. But it's not that we have to return or pay half of it. McCauley does like to have part of the project paid, she said, so she just put pending from the village on the application. Then we would take out those mounds by the basketball courts and put 2 new basketball courts back up to the tall fence at the back of the tennis. And then we would only have to have 3 smaller fences around your basketball. It's the most economical, and $50,000 would be for parking lot. Now, the pictures that were put on here, I took the one where the water was at that stone parking lot, and that's the one that she picked. I sent her all kinds of pictures from that back one. So if we can get 1/2 of the back one done for $50,000, I think that's the way to go. We've got some infrastructure where that other stone is at. There's, I don't know, there's water that lays there all the time, so.
There's a catch basin there, but I don't know where the catch basin goes.
So,
Is that stone driveway, the one with the yellow things, is that by that little shelter house beside the pool across the
I think
street?
it's like.
It's looking at,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's from the
yeah.
tennis court looking towards
Okay.
The old jail.
Park
yes,
Drive.
I took it up on the high ground because there was a lot of water that day. And, you know, I really, looking at that tennis court and the basketball, I knew they were bad, but once you get them on the pictures,
Oh, yeah.
they are really bad.
Yeah.
So I know it wasn't exactly what you were hoping for. If there's more money and we can put more in the back, then, hey, let's go for it.
So is there any way to provide a little bit more parking with what we're trying to like updo right here? I know even like today, it was a BBC game, but people are parking in the grass.
It was bad.
Yeah.
I don't know of any other, were they parking where it was water there? By that, are they parking along the front of the pool, on the side of the pool?
They're parking on the side of the pool, but then on the left side, they're parking in the
But
grass.
when you go in, and Newell's
By the
house
jail?
is right there, the cars were lined all down to the road.
Yeah.
Along that drive, along that
Yeah.
drive.
Yes.
So they weren't going into the low area and parking.
And it's a walk, but like.
Yeah, I'm not sure, I think everyone just thinks like, this is the park, we're gonna park here.
Well, we
Well,
do
one
have that.
person parks.
Yeah.
We do have that other lot, that stone lot on back before the bridge.
And there might be some baseball parents parking up there too, who aren't
Yeah.
wanting to go
It
around.
didn't look like there was a boys game.
It's a BBC, so there was both.
Was there both?
Yeah, today at least.
I couldn't see.
Yeah.
It was real busy. That whole area where the jail is, it's prime parking.
Yeah.
It's low, you just built it up.
We can check into it.
It's just we gotta figure out the drainage.
The drainage is the main
Yeah,
concern there.
and just build it up and use gravity, it's like sheet drain, all through the lawn areas. You don't need to put an expensive catch basin
No,
system.
there is a catch basin there,
Yeah, there is.
but it doesn't work.
It either doesn't, it's not, either not big enough or it's not plugged or broken. The tile's
I
broken.
don't know, I know
whatever.
Greg has a thing for all the guys to do all the catch basins and see what's issues.
Were we talking about moving that tail at one point, or?
Well, when I was on council, I was told by someone on council that checked it out and it wasn't historical. And then Deb Ewing brings up papers that it is historical, so we really don't know. But if it falls down,
Like for building beside it and it gets knocked down by accident.
who who wants to park close to it?
Or relocate it or something.
I don't think you can move it.
You can't move it
It's
or
so
else it's
Yeah, if you tried to
gone.
pick it up, it'd
It'll
probably
go.
Well, that's what we could try to say.
So,
Yeah.
basketball
Yeah.
court,
Yeah.
what about like, say, like when you're coming down that drive to the right where the old shelter house, is there any way to make that?
That's low there too.
Is it,
Very low. You know what, they might have to walk a little bit.
yeah.
I mean.
But like I said, nobody, I wouldn't even talk to, to be honest.
Right.
It may be one,
Like parking in the
well,
front
it may be
pool.
just one of the things where we have to put up some signs.
I was just thinking that.
We had to
same.
do that, we had to do that in the back.
Yeah.
We have it on the back because we removed all of those railroad ties. It
Right.
says, do not park on grass.
And I think for the most part back there, I
Wonder,
don't
when they
see-
repave Main Street, then we can have the millings from that, dump them all
Oh.
down there.
I'm sure they will, they'll be happy
Well,
to.
there'll be a bunch of them.
And that's
all the way down
summer.
613. That's a short drive for them too, to
Oh,
turn
yeah,
around.
they'd be like that.
Yeah.
We should ask them.
The cemetery.
They don't, they have to usually pay somewhere to take that. I don't know how that works.
I will get a phone call on that and they'll ask if we want.
Is that the something the
That'd be a
cemetery, there's
good
enough
place for it
left
now.
to, the light, cause they were talking about trying to.
Yeah, they have to give it to a government.
Entity. They can give it.
That'd be a good.
So we probably, well, if that's the case, we probably wanna look at moving, raising that catch basin or whatever, or putting a top on that.
We
Bring-
need to see where it goes, yeah.
Bring it up and see what's going on with it.
Number 11, I know one of our other thoughts is about redoing our Main Street with the poles and the sidewalks. Did some more digging and I found out ODOT has a program called TAP. I kind of dug in a little more, sent a couple emails off. Originally, on the article, it says it has to be done in tandem with paving of a state route. Well, that's way too late, because yes, they're coming this summer, for sure. And so the gentleman down at ODOT in Lima said, well, it doesn't have to be, it can be an independent project. So I reached out to Kylie down there, and she gave me a couple dates here in April and May that she is willing to come up here and walk the streets and look at it. Now, the bad part is, it said fiscal year 28, and I asked Tanner, I said, by any chance did you hit the 8 instead of the 5? And he's like, no, it is 28. But it would give us a lot of time to do some planning and sit down and do it right. They said lots of times some of those projects they have to have land acquisition and it takes a long time, so.
That's what my job is, so if you have questions about that, I know all about that.
With the TAP program?
With Kate Hiley.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So she said she's willing to come here, so I think, I won't be able to do it yet. Her day's in April, because she said Wednesday and, I don't know, another day. So probably May 1st or 2nd, I think is, we'll be looking at that. But maybe some of the others in town that have some projects lined up, maybe they'll have theirs done by then and we can do it right. 12, we did save some money. What we had originally talked about, we voted for the $6,000 for the rubber mulch things. We didn't have to order the curbs since we're putting the child's play set within that actual same thing. So, I have a couple other things. Tammy has a birthday this week, so happy birthday. 22, I think, again.
got it.
I thought so. Gas account, Haley had them all printed off, but she had like 7 pages, and I'm like, I'll just tell you. In January, past due in the court cases for gas were $20,592. In March, they were $25,361. Letters were sent out, postcards were sent out to everyone to try to get everything paid off by May 15th. So we can try to get everything zeroed down as much as possible.